Today, Ginnelle Elliott Sawyer and I talk about how to keep your expat kids grounded. If you missed part one of our conversation, the link is below. I'm Cecile, a Canadian living in southern Turkey, and this is my channel from Canada to Adana. Enjoy!
So, jumping ahead then, you did leave Portugal. What was
We
the
did.
what was the repatriation experience like?
Devastating, brutal. We left only because we didn't want to leave. The church didn't want us to leave. They were trying to do everything to get us to stay. But Maggie was going to enter high school. And I think that going into high school and knowing what it takes to get into a good university, where we would want her to go to school, we wanted her to be well prepared. And the school that she was at was great. And I think it probably would have prepared her to some extent, but it wouldn't have given her the experience that she watched in High School Musical. She'd watched endless High School Musicals as a child, and she wanted Zac Efron dancing on tables. So that wasn't going to happen. The school that she was at had one graduate the year she was there. One. Yeah. It was a small religious American school. So it was the move back almost killed me. In fact, I kept telling the kids, I'm going to take to my bed like a Southern woman, because we moved to the deep South. And I said, no one talk to me. And they're like, Mom, get out of bed. I'm like, I can't get out of my bed. Southern women take to their bed when they're upset. Just bring me Starbucks. And I'm not getting, so literally for weeks, I was just like, it was hot. It was like 110 Celsius, Fahrenheit, with 100% humidity. I have curly hair. It was like an afro it was like my hair, I couldn't calm it down because of the humidity. I was like, what am I doing? What is happening here? I can't stand the heat. It was brutal. And it was life again, like that pace, that American pace. Like Maggie started playing volleyball. And volleyball practice, Maggie played field hockey in Portugal. We had one practice a week and one game. She starts playing volleyball in high school, and she has practices every single day for 2 hours, including Friday, plus a game that we had to drive to, and we had to pay to watch her play. Every game costs us $10 a person to go watch Maggie play volleyball or sit on the bench or whatever she was doing that day. And I just thought, take me back. Let me go back, because life was simpler in Portugal.
So that was Georgia.
That's South Carolina.
That's South Carolina, and you still live there.
That's where we are now. That's our coming back. So our coming back was here in South Carolina. We've been here. Well, it was the girls and I got here on August 5th last year. So it hasn't even been a year.
Okay. All right. So how long do you think you'll stay?
Till Maggie's finished high school, for sure.
All right. So 3 more years.
We have 3 more years. I think we might like to get Pippa through 8th grade, so that's sort of a finishing point for her. So that would be 4 years, which would be the longest we've lived. Well, we lived in Georgia for 5, and California, but in different parts of California for 7. But it wasn't in the same place. So, but I will say, having said how I feel, my children are over the moon happy.
Okay.
So they have sort of, I would say, what they dreamt of having, which is friends who speak their language, interests with people that are in common. That's sort of where they are. They have what they had hoped for.
Yeah. And that gives you strength, I'm sure.
Sure.
Or not.
Sure. I think yes, to like this point. If it were about me, no, I'm still devastated. I'm in a place that's very, this is still not our home, right? We're Canadian, and being Canadian is always being something other when you live in the United States. Yeah. So it's other in a different way, like Maggie will say, Mom, do we say, well, she calls me Mom, like she says it in an American way, where I call Mom with a U when I call my mom. She's like, Mom, like she says, but then she has these American things that she does because she isn't born and raised in this country. Pippa spent more of her life in Europe, really.
Right.
Like Pippa was at that tipping point. So now with this year, she's been in the US, but I mean, her formative time was all in Europe. Pippa has a better British accent than most British people. I mean, it's like proper. But it is what it is. But they like it. But at the same time, I think they miss the fact that when we were coming here, how spoiled is my daughter? She's like, oh, we're spending 10 days at the beach. And I was like, yeah. She goes, well, that's a long time. Like, I'd rather be in Paris right now, or like maybe London. And I was like, what have we done? Yeah, sure. So would I, but we're going to the beach.
Now, would you ever go back to Canada?
Does it still have snow? Then the answer is no.
It's July 3rd, so no, it just melted.
In the winter, we will have snow. My mother's always like, but I'm like, Mom, I hate winter. I don't like snow. So all of our moves have been to places that don't have snow. Because I like being outside. I like, I don't like that November to sometimes April where we're trapped and, and I don't like outdoor freezing sports very much. So it's never to say never. This is the first summer of my life I haven't been there for the summer. Yeah. And I hate it. I hate not being able to swim in our lake. I hate not being able to, see all of and that one of the questions, Cecile, that you had sent was like, what was our grounding force? Yeah. And it was our summer home in Canada, our cottage. Yeah. Because no matter where we have moved in the world, I brought those girls back there for the summer. And having that meant they had my mom and my dad, my brothers, my nephew, all of my cousins, like all of their childhood friends, they got to see. So no matter what happened, Maggie has gone to summer camp for 7 years across the lake from our cottage. So that's been the stabilizer. Yeah. No matter what crazy stuff I did, I'd always promise them Canada in the summer.
I guess that's what you were going to say, when I was going to ask you, how do you keep your kids rooted?
Yeah.
And I think part of that is grounded. I think your girls are really down to earth. I mean, you and Frank are really down to earth. And for all for all your worldliness, London, Paris, you guys are really like just, salt of the earth type people. And I think, I visited you guys at the cottage. Like, it's just, it's all about the people and the place. And it's not a fancy schmancy,
That's right. And that's what I think the important thing for all of this is, like, we've shown them, we traveled a lot when we were in Portugal. I mean, a lot. We took them everywhere we could, but I think that part of taking them everywhere as could is they had to understand that we'll take you here, but you're not getting a fancy souvenir at every shop. You're getting this trip. And it was interesting because I had a lot of friends during this pandemic in the United States moaning about how awful it was to be trapped. And I'd say, well, just say what I say to my daughters. And they're like, well, what do you say? And I said, well, we went to the Anne Frank Museum, and Anne Frank she was hiding for her life. And at the end of that, after all that time she hid, she was still killed. So you're not hiding, you're hiding to save yourself. And at the end of this, no one's going to take you away and kill you. So listen, let's put it into perspective. And they're like, well, that's really harsh. I'm like, yes, but when you show your kids the world, they remember that. And they remember how she suffered. So you can't complain. We're staying home to be safe. We're not staying home because someone's out to try and kill us. Yeah. And so they're like, I can't believe you tell your children that. I'm like, but they've been there and they've seen it and they can understand. It gives them more perspective, I think, on how other people have suffered and lived. Yeah. Or died.
I think that's helpful. I mean, for all of us to have perspective.
You have to.
And also just going back to how, when you guys were in Corfu, you had such a focus on service. Like
we did.
It wasn't about feeling sorry for yourselves or your situation. It was, what can we do to make life here better for someone, for something.
Right. As I'm talking to you, I have my dog on the bed, which we found in a garbage can in Greece. And he's the luckiest Greek garbage dog you've ever seen, because he's like hanging out in Florida on the beach today. But I mean, that's what it's, I mean, I think that that's what our life is in general, is about service, because I think that helps with everything. You know, I often say to people, like, we'll go to church, especially in Portugal, and there's a lot of really old British people there who are far away from their family and their grandchildren. And there was one lady, and she was so sweet. She never had children. She'd grown up, her dad was in port, so she'd grown up in Portugal but she was British, you know, she was still British. And she was all hunched over, and she didn't look like the kind of person a kid would want to be friends with. But I'd always say to people, pick somebody in the church who looks alone, and you be their friend. That's all your job is. So she would go in every week and hold this woman and kiss this woman. And this woman, like, it would be hard to understand what that meant to her until the day before we left. And she had this cherished necklace that had been, her father gave her when she was a little girl, of a donkey, and a Portuguese girl riding this donkey. And she'd had it her whole life. And when we left, she was too upset to give it to Pippa. They said, this is very, explained it to me, could you give this to your daughter after she leaves? And I said, Pippa, that's all it took. You were just a nice kid, but you can change someone's life, especially in a situation where they're not in their own country either. You know, when you're all expats together, there's something wonderful about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Ginnelle, I don't want to stop talking to you, but, you know, we'll have to do a part 2 or something. I could go on and on. If people want to hear more from you, are you still blogging? Where can people find you? Or do you not want to be?
I have a blog called Crazy Priest Wife. And it's there. You can find, there's a Facebook page of it, and you can, you know, go online and find it, Crazy Priest Wife.
I'll link it below.
Okay, I can send you have it. You've seen it before, Cecile? Yes.
Oh.
You know, and I had updated it a lot. I've been a bit of a slacker, but yeah, I think that it's really important that people, if they're watching this and they're thinking about taking the leap, they really should, because the benefits far outweigh the negatives. I mean, not speaking a language, who cares? You can figure that out, or you can figure out enough to get by. But the experiences that you can give your family, you can't count them. They're fantastic. My kids can recognize flags from around the world. You know, they can see somebody and go, oh, that yesterday in St. Augustine, where we are, there was a Greek Orthodox little mission, and the kids are like, oh, look, that's a Greek Orthodox church, we should go in. They know what that is because they lived in Greece during Easter time, and you know, there's huge benefits.
Yeah, that's invaluable.
It is.
Well,
we'll be back soon to some cool place. Thank you, Cecile. It was lovely to see you.
Lovely to catch up, and I'll be in touch soon. Say hi to everybody.
Okay, I shall. Bye.
Bye.
If you like this conversation with Ginnelle, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to be sure not to miss any upcoming expat conversations. Till next time, bye.